Spoke highly of
Yes, we need one more. I was like, we need one
Wait,
more.
we need
That's
one
good.
more.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Carol. We need one. You doing good?
Hey, Stella.
I'm good.
Save the day.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, he's here.
Oh, Mr.
that was 2 hours.
He's 5:30. Oh, he's not.
Oh, grand. That's how rumors get started. My bad.
I know, right?
Ridiculous. Grandbaby.
I'm gonna send him a message right now. All right. Oh,
Okay, about that.
okay. I'm fast food all the way.
Anytime I can eat. Yeah.
Okay.
She goes.
Yep. I'll get Tony and Sandy from the city to get it.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay. Everybody knows.
To meet you.
We're going to introduce you.
Time is now 5:31 on this 21st day of August 2018. And I call the meeting, the public hearing of the school board to order. I will call the roll. Secretary Stella Camacho.
Here.
Board Member Timothy Payne. Present. Board Member Richard Santoyo. Here. Board Member Martha Castilla.
Here.
Board Member Edward Romero.
Here.
Vice President Frank Espinosa will not be joining us this evening. Board President Roy Soto, I'm here as well. Let the record show that a quorum of the board members is present. This meeting has been duly called. That notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act. We will now begin the public hearing.
Good evening, board members, President Soto, Dr. Hernandez, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight we have a brief presentation regarding our budget and our proposed tax rate for the community. Texas Education Code 44002 requires us to prepare a budget, requires the superintendent to prepare a budget that has estimates on proposed expenditures and proposed revenues for the coming year. Our board is required to adopt the budget based on a fund and function level, and we're prepared to present those here tonight. We are presenting the general fund, food service, and debt service fund budget for review. I know this is a little bit hard to read. Our general fund budget is comprised of the local operating fund. Then we separate out our food service fund. And we also have a project fund that we itemize separately because that is a project that we entered into for an energy efficiency project that will be coming to conclusion in the next few months. So we do want to ensure that that is presented separately because those funds are coming from fund balance from bond issues that we made. Tonight we wanted to also discuss the certified tax roll. Our property values, what's important to note is our property values increased by a little over $10 million. Traditionally, what that translates to is the district would have collected about $143,000 of additional revenue to use for operations. However, because the way the state funds the school district, the state reduces its local or its share of the funding for the school district. So even though our property values increase, we don't get any additional funding because the state recoups those funds. Next year, or the adopted tax rate that we're proposing is about 0.8 of a penny less than the current year. So the tax rate that we're proposing is 1.3772. We have a decrease because our debt service, as approved by our voters, is going to be a little bit lower this next year. So we pass that savings on to voters by reducing the debt by 0.8 of a penny. Last year we increased it to cover the debt. This year we reduce it back. We just collect enough so we can make the payment. Also, I wanted to point out the effective tax rate that we're going to see as we adopt the budget. What that means is how much money would we have to collect this year based on our current property values to collect the same amount of money that we did last year. So, and that's really, I wanted to point that out because it looks a little deceiving when you read that. As our property values increase, we collect a little bit more money, but the state actually, again, reduces the amount of money that they give us. So effectively, this year, we'd have to collect $1.29 to get the same amount of revenue that we collected last year. So that's what the effective tax rate means. So when you hear that our effective tax rate is increasing, that's because our property values increased. But it has no real effect on our budget, unfortunately. Okay. I just mentioned our property values have increased. If you look at this slide, we've consistently had increases from about 2.5% to 3.5% in San Antonio. That's something that's going on. Magically, our houses are worth a little bit more money every year. Again, because of the way the state funding formulas are structured, we end up collecting about the same money in the district. That concludes our presentation that we have tonight regarding our taxes and our budget. Are there any questions?
Board members?
We will be voting on the item in action during the regular board meeting.
Thank you. Do we have anybody from the community that would like to ask a question? Thank you. Board members, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Board member Timothy Payne moves. Board member Edward Romero seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
everything is consent.
Parents are seeing, it's
And there's some action.
I enjoy it. I really enjoy doing it.
I'm excited. I started crying. I get real sentimental. I get real.
Whole session. Thing that somebody's never did that. Get around a party, but something that no one has ever done. The name wrong, but I can give that.
That's why the oldest was her taking it. And you always.
Okay. All right.
We're ready. Really.
That's it.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Hernandez, and district staff. The time is now 6 p.m. on this 21st day of August, 2018, and I call the meeting of the school board to order. I will call the roll. Secretary Stella Camacho.
Here.
Board Member Timothy Payne.
Present.
Board Member Richard Santoyo.
Here.
Board Member Martha Castilla.
Here.
Board Member Edward Romero.
Here.
Vice President Frank Espinosa will not be joining us this evening. Board President Roy Soto, I'm here as well. Let the record show that a quorum of the board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Could everyone please rise, join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag. Pledge of Allegiance. Beautiful flag. Honor Texas. Pledge of Allegiance. Texas. Thank you. Dr. Hernandez, you have the floor.
Mr. Soto, Mr. Soto, board members, parents, and our staff. This evening, I would like to introduce, as part of the beginning of our new school year, a superintendent's report that I hope will continue to add to the transparency and answering the question of our why and our purpose in the district. So every month, I will be bringing a superintendent's report wrapped around 5 strategic goals that will encompass the major areas that our district will focus work on over the next few years. This evening, you'll hear about these goals. We will begin by keeping it very simple, but just showing you examples of the quality work and the quality leadership that's being brought to our campuses by not only our campus principals, but members of our senior leadership team, as well as our members from other departments throughout the district. And so before we do that, we're going to start this evening by introducing some of our newest family members here in Edgewood ISD. And with that, for that help, Mr. McElvain, our Senior Executive Director of Talent Management, is going to be leading us on that discussion.
Well, good evening, Mr. Soto, board members, Dr. Hernandez, parents, staff, and community. This evening, we're very excited to introduce to you new principals and one new executive director, new family members to Edgewood family. First of all, I'd like to introduce Ms. Jennifer Salazar. She's our new principal at Cisneros Elementary School. Ms. Salazar, if you stand. And just remain standing if you won't mind. So Ms. Salazar received her Bachelor's of Arts from the University of Incarnate Word, her Master's of Education in Educational Leadership from the University of Texas at San Antonio, and she began her teaching career at an elementary school as an elementary school teacher in 2004, and has served as an academic dean, assistant principal, and high school principal prior to joining the Edgewood family. So again, congratulations and welcome, Ms. Salazar. I also want to introduce Mr. Christopher Bland. Mr. Christopher Bland, if you'll stand up, please. Mr. Bland. Mr. Bland is the principal at Gus Garcia Middle School. He received his bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at San Antonio and his master's degree in educational leadership from Trinity University. He began his teaching career in 2007 as a special education teacher before becoming a behavior specialist, instructional dean, assistant principal, magnet director, and most recently, associate principal at Fox Tech High School. Congratulations and welcome, Mr. Bland. And I understand that he has quite the fan club, and so if those of you who are here to celebrate Mr. Bland, if you'd like to stand and be recognized as well. Thank you so much. Okay, next I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Tanya Moran. Ms. Moran is the principal of Henry B. Gonzalez Elementary School. Ms. Moran received her bachelor's degree from California State University and master's degree in educational leadership from the University of Texas at Tyler. She is currently pursuing her doctorate in educational leadership from Texas A&M University Commerce. She began her teaching career as an elementary school bilingual teacher in 2006 and has served as an elementary, middle, and high school assistant principal prior to joining the Edgewood family. Congratulations and welcome to the team, Ms. Moran. Next, I'd like to introduce Ms. Ellie Gerhardt, principal at LBJ Elementary School. Ms. Gerhardt received her Bachelor's of Science in Elementary Education from Southwest Texas State University in San Marcos before achieving her Master's in Curriculum and Instruction from Houston Baptist University in 2003 and a second master's degree in Educational Administration from Lamar University in 2010. She began her teaching career as a middle school math teacher in Del Rio, Texas, before moving to Edgewood as an elementary school teacher at Holscher Elementary in 1999. She has since served the Edgewood ISD community as an instructional facilitator, accountability coordinator, and most recently as the assistant principal at Gus Garcia Middle School. Congratulations on your new appointment as principal at LBJ Elementary School, Ms. Gerhardt. Ms. Claudia Sanchez. Ms. Claudia Sanchez is the proud principal of Winston Elementary School. Ms. Sanchez attained her bachelor's degree from St. Mary's University in 1995 and her master's degree in educational administration from Lamar University in 2013. She began her teaching career as a bilingual teacher at Roosevelt Elementary School in 2006 and then served as instructional facilitator, instructional coach, and later assistant principal at Gus Garcia Middle School. Additionally, Ms. Sanchez served the district as the coordinator for school improvement. With a desire to get back to the campus and closer to students, she stepped back into a support role at both Brentwood Middle School and Wren Middle School as an assistant principal last year, and now is the proud principal of Winston Elementary School. Congratulations, Ms. Sanchez. Ms. Tracy Tolbane? Ms. Tolbane is our new site manager at Stafford Early Childhood Center. Ms. Tolbane received her Bachelor's of Arts from the University of Texas at San Antonio, her Master's in Advanced Literacy Instruction from Concordia Lutheran University, and she began her teaching career in Edgewood as an elementary school teacher at Loma Park in 1993. She has served the district as an instructional facilitator, early childhood specialist, and most recently, assistant principal at Roosevelt Elementary School. Congratulations on your appointment, Ms. Tolbane. Now I'd like to introduce our new Executive Director of Operations, Mr. Elvis Williams. Mr. Williams, if you'll stand. Mr. Williams received his Bachelor's of Science from Mississippi Valley State University, his Master's of Education in Educational Leadership from Dallas Baptist University, and is currently pursuing his doctorate in educational leadership from the University of Texas in Austin. Mr. Williams is coming to us from Dallas Independent School District. This is his 16th year in education, where he served as an elementary school teacher, middle school assistant principal, and principal of a middle school, employee relations coordinator, and has overseen district finance and operations as both an assistant superintendent and deputy superintendent. Welcome to the Edgewood family, Mr. Williams. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. McIlvain. And to our new administrators, welcome to the Edgewood ISD family. Thank you. Those of you that are here to support your individual staff members, we do appreciate your time. And we welcome you to the family. So we'll see you again. So as I move forward with the superintendent's report, I'd like to start by looking at Goal 1, student success. As you heard me talk about at Convocation, one of the things that we're going to be working on in the district is really developing our PAC and looking at professionalism, accountability, and communication in the district in terms of how we do business inside the district and how we do business on the outside. So what you see before you are examples of students and some of the work that has gone on during the summer in terms of summer programming, some of our students that are actually participating in football preparation over the summer. Of course, a lot of our guys are doing 2 days. Our young ladies that are working through cheerleading, and you saw a lot of them at Convocation, as well as our band students. And, of course, I could put thousands of pictures up there of our kids, but these are just some of the samples of the different things that are going on in the district. Continuing with Goal 1, which is focused on student success, we've also spent much time this summer looking at how do we continue to develop the craft or the skills that our teachers are bringing to classrooms. So what you see before you are examples of workshops that we've done with administrators and teachers in terms of looking at data and looking at whether it's literacy or looking at different professional development in the district. These are just samples of what's going on in the district for Goal 1, focus on student success. In terms of focusing on students, families, and community, as you can see, some of you, if you have a Twitter account, you're probably used to some of these pictures. We have examples from Las Palmas on the top right. We had a community walk with that staff. Down below, I even got to participate in the walk at Perales Elementary with Ms. Silva. And that's one of our parents who has one of our students at the high school Memorial, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, you've heard extensively about the work that our officers are doing, our community resource officers, and the work that they do to support our, not just the immediate needs of our folks, but when tragedy hits some of our faculty, not faculty, but our parents in the community, they're also there to provide support. And so that would fall under Goal 2, focus on students, families, and community. Goal 3, focusing on operational excellence, is also maintaining the folks in our operation fleet, making sure that our students are getting to their destination safe in terms of the picture on the left there where we're checking our brakes and our buses and things like that, but also the safety and security of our districts. And then we have many examples of a lot of the training that our folks in our safety and security department are going through. So there's an example there. We also have our folks on the maintenance and operations sides. The picture on the top right is the recent barbecue that we had for our custodians and our different individuals. Hats off to that department, Mr. Torres, Mr. Cantu, Mr. Rodriguez, our CFO, Ms. Rosie, all the individuals that were there not only serving our individuals, but also walking around and thanking them for the many hours of service that they've provided. I know a lot of our principals have used their Twitter accounts to show off all the work that our folks were doing in preparation for the kids coming back to school. There's an example there of our troop at Winston, I believe. Yes, that's Ms. Vita's group from Winston. And so there's a lot of, yes, we have Winston folks here. And so, again, I believe it's important that we highlight the work that's going on in our district and really continue to tell our story as a district and all the great things that are going inside. Did that move? Oh, yes. There you go. Continuing with focus on excellence with our students, we're looking at our team board. So one of the things that I'm going to be bringing to this group, and we'll be bringing these groups before our audiences here, is we're now going to have a team board that we're going to have actually be able to use and get our message out with our students and really ask them about are our products and services reaching them, and are we treating them with respect? A lot of our elementary principals walked around with me today, and I was visiting with some of those fifth grade classrooms, and that was my conversation with them, is helping them understand that they are the patrons of our district, and by patrons meaning our customers. And we talked about what does that mean. For me as the superintendent, my Wednesdays are going to be the day that I get out into campuses, and that'll be part of the conversation that I have with students in the library, pulling different groups of fourth and fifth graders and asking them, are we providing the products and services that make you a better student? Are we treating you with respect? What does that mean? And what can I, as your superintendent, do to better serve you? And so that team board is going to be inclusive of fourth and fifth graders at their campus, but then middle and high school students, it'll be in this room and really moving forward with that work. And Ms. Marisa Perez-Diaz is going to be helping us with that. On the other side of that picture, where you see the young lady and that child, we're also going to be looking at starting a group called Women with Vision. Again, if you follow me on Twitter, I speak to those things in terms of, I always say, little girls with dreams are women with vision. And so we are going to be having a group that meets with us in terms of our moms of the district and really engaging them on conversations around what conceptions or preconceived notions they may have of our schools, how we can clarify that, and what advice we can get from our parents in terms of providing better products and services to their children and to their families. And so we'll be working with students, we'll be working with moms, and then there in the middle you see professional counsel. So that will be the mechanism that we'll introduce so that we are able to work with our employees or our colleagues inside of the district. And there'll be we'll have this conversation with principals at one of our meetings, but really being able to hear from our folks in terms of any questions or items that they feel need to be brought to the attention of the superintendent and the executive team. So those are all items that will exist within the organization that will allow for 3 venues, one for students, one for parents in terms of our moms, dads. We've got something coming for you in another year. But then also a professional council within the district so that we have representatives from every campus and every department that are able to get their questions and wonderings in front of the superintendent and the executive team. And of course, we'll report that information back out to everybody. And all of that is being done in terms of being transparent and communicating our intentions with our patrons across the district. Goal 4, focus on employee and organizational improvement. And this is the area that we want to focus on in terms of keeping our retention rate. So you probably recognize a lot of the pictures here of some of our folks that are working in terms of professional development and what we're doing to better them as educators. And then, of course, the one-page presentation items that we're using to introduce our different folks in the district. So today when we introduced our new principals, the idea is to put a face behind every position in the district and to begin to hear your why. A lot of you have heard me say that over and over, and that'll be some of our conversation pieces all year is what's our why? What's your purpose? Why are we here, and why are we here? What are we doing to serve children? And so these are some of the few things that we're going to be working on in terms of bettering our employees, having a focus on organizational improvement. And then the last piece being our financial stewardship. So this evening, you'll hear more about, we had our budget hearing earlier, but also being transparent in terms of the financial side of the house, in terms of the money that we spend and the money we get from the state and how we're spending our budgets so that we are transparent with our patrons outside of the district, but also within the district. And so there are other pictures there. Our compadres gave us a check for our students there on the left there with Mr. Chavez holding that check. And then on the right, our friends at HEB provided us bags for every teacher in the district. And so these are things that I believe that as good partners in the greater San Antonio community, that we are highlighting those individuals that want to engage with us and that want to support our total organization and our teachers and everyone in the district. So these are the 5 items that I will be bringing as a superintendent's report every month. And sometimes you'll see pictures, sometimes you'll actually see the people, kids, so that these meetings are focused on the center of our work, which are our scholars and the people that sit in this room. That's the most valuable thing we have is people. And so that'll be the focus of what I do in terms of bringing the superintendent's report to our board meetings. And then, of course, our EIST PAC. So, Mr. Soto, that's my report this evening.
Thank you. Board members, do we have any questions? We will now continue with presentations and discussions. Dr. Hernandez, you have the floor.
Mr. Soto, the first presentation that we have this evening is our Lone Star Governance Monthly Monitoring Report for August 2018. Presenting this evening will be Mr. Philip Chavez, our Chief Transformation and Innovation Officer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Superintendent Hernandez, and community members. You have with you the Lone Star Governance. This is our monthly reporting piece. As you recall, we started in September of 2017. This completes five goals. The 5 goals for the district. And under the first goal, focus on student achievement. That is where the Lone Star Governance goals will fit. I do want to say that as this is our last month, I've met with Dr. Hernandez and we're looking at how we can modify those particular LSG goals to meet the new standards. And this is one, that student outcome goal 3, the 4-year longitudinal rate. This particular rate has changed based on the college and career readiness in 2018 to college, career, and military readiness. And now we will have a change in our LSG goal because the entire accountability piece and those components that fit under graduation rate and CCMR, as we call college, career, and military readiness. So that'll be a piece that Dr. Hernandez will be addressing with the board. The next piece is the August 2018 monitoring report. The student outcome goal for professional development could not drop below our baseline, which was established in January 2018, which was 53.1% of all the professional development that was offered by the district aligned to the LSP goals. We are proud to say that for the entire year, for August 2018, The total percent of professional learning towards the LSG goals was 73%, or 255 out of the 349 courses offered covered the LSG goal. The third piece, or the next piece, is constraint 3, that we shouldn't allow the top quartile of teachers leave the district. To increase, our target for the school year for 17-18 was 25.9, and as you can see, we reached 21%. That is, we reached the goal, because the lower the number, the better. It's kind of like playing golf, right? So the 21% was our goal, was our turnover rate this year. 25.9 was our target, which was met. I want to show this particular, I always give you the graph for this particular piece. We have the district numbers on the left-hand side. If you notice on the right-hand side, we have this year's. We had a 1.5. And let me explain that. That was in December when we last reported out. We had a few individuals who left the district at that time. And then at the end of the year, we had a 21%. You notice the goal was 25.9. We came all the way down to meeting the 5-year goal, which was 21.9. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Board members? Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you.
At this time, we will move on to the consent agenda items. Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda items as listed?
I motion that we approve the consent agenda items as listed, A through V.
Do we have a second?
I have a question on item G.
Yes, sir.
In regards to the amended budget, I wanted to know about the decrease in function 11. Can you tell me what that's made up of?
As we had mentioned at the workshop, sir, we don't decrease for specific things. What will happen during the year, we've not come for an amendment to the board, so what we're doing is just reallocating funds. So, for example, that may have been substitute money we didn't use or positions we didn't fill. So as we have the need throughout the year, we'll move those monies and move them into other areas such as facilities or any other areas that we may need so that we don't come to the board for an amendment. So it's not tied to specific items, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Board members, do we have a second?
Mr. President, I second approval of the consent item.
Secretary Stella Camacho moves. Board member Richard Santoyo seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We will now continue to the action items. The action items were covered during our workshop, so we will not have any presentations. As we address each action item, board members, if you have a question, please let us know.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On item F for the compensation plan, can you tell me from the recommendations, which is the best pay increase for our teachers out of all the plans?
Mr. Romero, if we could wait until we get to that particular action item, we'll address every action item on its own, and when we reach that action item, then we'll address that question.
Okay, thank you.
Board members, do we have a motion regarding action item A?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move we consider and approve the election services contract with Bexar County Elections Administrator.
Do we have a second?
Second, Mr. President.
Board member Richard Santoyo moves. Board member Timothy Payne seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Regarding action item B, board members, do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I think we need to go back to the adoption and approval of the 18-19 official budget first. 5A.
No, we read A. Read B. I read the consent, sorry. I read the consent item.
Okay.
So in
Yes, sir.
consent, so in action item A, I move we approve the adoption of the 2019 district official budget.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Board Member Richard Santoyo moves. Board Member Timothy Payne seconds. Board members, do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. With regard to action item B, board members, do we have a motion?
I motion that we approve consideration and approval of acceptance of the certified appraisal roll for tax year 2018.
Board members, do we have a second?
A second.
Board Member Edward Romero moves. Board Member Richard Santoyo seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Regarding action item C, board members, do we have a motion?
I motion to consider the consideration and approval of acceptance of the effective and rollback tax rates for tax year 2018.
Board members, do we have a second?
I second.
Board Member Martha Castilla moves. Board Member Edward Romero seconds. Do we have any discussion? We have no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Regarding action item D, board members, do we have a motion?
I motion that we approve the adoption of a tax rate ordinance for tax year 2018.
Do we have a second?
Mr. President, I'd like to further on the motion, just for detail purposes, that we move the property tax be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.377242, which is effectively a 6.36% increase in the tax rate. Just furthering along on Mr. Romero's.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Board Member Edward Romero moves. Board Member Martha Castilla seconds. Do we have any discussion? We have no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Regarding action item E, board members, do we have a motion?
I motion that we approve item E. Long one. All right. The consideration and adoption of a resolution by the school board of Edgewood Independent School District authorizing the change of authorized representatives with textbook participant services.
Do we have a second?
Second, President.
Board Member Edward Romero moves. Board Member Timothy Payne seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Romero, you had a question?
Yes, for item F.
I believe we need to motion the consent first and then the question. I motion that the school board adopt the recommended compensation plan, teacher pay scales, recommendations, and a general percent increase for district employees for the 2018-19 school year as presented in workshop session. I also move that the school board make the general percent increase retroactive to the first contract day of the 2018-2019 school year for the full-time district employees.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Question. Mr. Romero's question.
Do we have any discussion?
Yes. I just want to know, out of the recommendations, which one was the one that had the best, I guess, pay increase for our teachers? Or were they all the same percentage?
Mr. Romero and school board, the administration proposed one recommendation to the board that fit within the budget, and that was a 2% general pay increase for all auxiliary and paraprofessional staff, and a 1.5% increase for all teachers and professionals. So that was the single recommendation that administration made in context or obviously with the budget in mind.
Thank you. That was it.
Yes, sir.
Board members, do we have any further discussion? Board members, do we have a second?
Second, Mr. President.
Secretary Stella Camacho moves. Board member Timothy Payne seconds. Again, board members, do we have any discussion? If there is no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. The time is now 6:31 p.m., and the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to Section 551.071 and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. Board is now in closed session. Reconvene from closed session. The time is now 7:41 p.m. And the board will take appropriate action on items if necessary as discussed in closed session. With regard to open session A, action regarding approval of first and final reading of revised board policy BJA local superintendent qualifications and duties. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I motion to approve the first and final reading of revised board policy BJA local as presented.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Secretary Stella Camacho moves. Board Member Richard Santoyo seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Board members, we've concluded our agenda items this evening. Do we have motion to adjourn?
Yep. Item number.
We have none. None were submitted.
I think it's stated.
If none were submitted, do we?
Oh, there's none.
Board members, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. President?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Board member Timothy Payne moves. Board member Richard Santoyo seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. The time is now 7:43, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Uh-oh.